So I had an unconventional upbringing, and when I was 16, I was living with my mom and her live-in girlfriend in San Francisco. Yeah, woo! My mom's girlfriend was so sweet. Her name was Callie. She had been a software engineer, and then she became a culinary student. She was a sweet and enthusiastic and diligent and hopeless cook. Her tostones were like rocks. Her guacamole was like glue. You get the idea. She was dating my mom, obviously, an immigrant from the former USSR. And my mom is a wonderful woman, and she's grown so much since this time. But at the time, she had some kind of questionable morals, especially with romantic stuff. She kind of liked to keep all the burners going. And so she was on a trip with her ex-girlfriend, Fernanda, who was this like power lesbian CFO who was taking a trip to Croatia to check out property to potentially set up a sex resort. So my mom was along for the ride, and interesting. And Callie thought that she was on a business trip. So at almost the end of the 2 weeks, Callie is like, and Callie's been lovingly cooking me liquid pancakes and gummy chicken, and she's so wonderful. But she's like, listen, I have this plan to show your mom how I feel about her. And, this is the longest we've been apart. I miss her so much. She's the one for me. I've never known happiness like this. My mom's name, incidentally, is Lubov, which means love in Russian. And she was like, her name fits her so perfectly. She's my angel. And I was like, that? And so she's like, I am going to get her name tattooed on my chest. And I was like, that is 100% permanent forever for the rest of your life. I think we should think about this. And she was like, no, I've made up my mind. I appreciate your concern, but I know that this is the right thing. So I didn't know what to do because I had to be my mom's secret keeper at the time because just out of necessity for like housing security. It wasn't out of like passivity or like fun. It just was what it was. And so the next day I tell my friends about it and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And they're like, you have to stop her. And I'm, I don't know what to do. So I go to the tattoo parlor after school. She's like, I'm going to this place. It'd be wonderful. You could be a part of the process. So I show up. She's been there. She picked out a font. It's like 3 inches big and gothic. And she's like, what about this one? I'm like, no, let's go smaller. She's like, what about this one? She points to like a bubbly one that's like 1/2 centimeter smaller. I'm like, no. And then the tattoo artist pokes his head out of the curtain and is like, are you ready? And she's like, yeah, I think so. And I'm like, no, it really, really needs to be smaller at least. And so she hands me a pencil and a paper and she's like how small? And I make a couple lines and she's like, show me. So I write in simple script my mom's name, like less than 1 inch big. She's like, perfect. She takes the paper, goes behind the curtain, and I'm not 18, so I can't go behind the curtain because she's not my legal guardian. So I'm like standing outside the curtain being like, what do I say? What can I possibly say that can stop her from getting this? And I'm like discarding excuses. They're also unreasonable and kind of stupid. So I open the curtain and I go in and I don't know what to say. And I look at her and I see the resolve in her eyes and her face. And I realize that I'm 15 and these are two grown women with vast lives and paths that I cannot understand. And I cannot fight this battle for them. So I looked at her and I said, all I could say, I hope it doesn't hurt too much. And the next day, my mom came home, and after we hugged hello, she went to put down her stuff, and I heard through the walls her say a couple times louder and louder, it's not real, it's not real, it's not real. But it was real and it was permanent, and they broke up a couple years later dramatically, and then my mom had coffee with her a couple years after that, and she told me that she had covered up the tattoo with a little garden nest and a hummingbird and a butterfly, so it was all good. But then until that happened, Russian grandmothers would come up to her in the supermarket and try to speak to her, so I can only hope they made her feel loved. Thank you.